All right, we always like to start our programs by thanking all the people who helped us put this on. Of course, we want to thank Dr. Hanlon and all of his staff for providing this meeting space so that we could gather. We always want to acknowledge the Chagrin Valley Times. They publish our voter guide. They do it through the Times, through the Geauga Times Courier, and also the Good News. Many of you probably received this as an insert last week. Hopefully you're all subscribers. I know I am. And they do this for free for us as a service to the public. So we're very appreciative of that. We also like to acknowledge the public library system. They also distribute free copies at all of their branches. The Burton Library also distributes copies of our voter guide. So if you need one, better hurry up because they usually run out. It takes a small army to put on an event like this, so if you see one of our league members, please make sure to thank them, because everyone works really hard to pull this off. Lastly, I want to thank all of our candidates and spokespeople. Some of them I've seen 3 nights already this week. You don't have to participate in this process, but we appreciate that you do. It's just part of the democratic process. So thank you, candidates and spokespeople, for being here tonight. Okay, oh, you're really fast. I guess the last person that I really want to acknowledge here, or group, is GTV. GTV is producing this event for us tonight, and I can't tell you how much easier it makes our jobs. We're an all-volunteer organization, and we are working very hard to produce events at the other 3 locations. This is the only one where GTV has a relationship with the community and, where they will produce this for us. So thank you, GTV. You guys are great. Yes, just to make clear to everyone, this is a forum. It's not a debate, and it's certainly not a candidate rally. We do not distinguish between incumbents and challengers. We like everyone to start off on a level playing field. This forum is subject to our local empty chair policy, and what that means is that because these are local races, they fall under the local league jurisdiction. And so that if there's a race that's contested and only one candidate shows up, in the past we couldn't present that race. But under our policy, for a local race, if just one candidate shows up, we will present that candidate. So I just want to make sure that you all understand that policy. How this is going to work, I'm sorry, let me talk about the questions, because we get a lot of questions about our questions. We allow questions to be submitted online well before the event, by note card, as many of you have done this evening, up until the start of a race. So once a race has been called and we're presenting it, we're not able to accept additional questions for that race. Do not hold your questions. We have runners available. If you're working on questions in the audience, raise your hand, wave the note card, someone will come get it for you. Your question has to get through our screening panel to even be considered. So don't hold your questions. So our questions, all the questions that come in have been reviewed by a screening panel. Our panel's been trained to remove bias from the questions and to compare the questions against our criteria that's been published. They try to present a variety of questions that reflect the concerns of this community. So hopefully we'll see that play out as we're asking questions tonight. So groups of candidates will be called down. They'll be seated in alphabetical order in front of you. And one at a time, they will come up and give 3-minute remarks. One logistical question or issue for the candidates. So each candidate will do their 3 minutes, and once everyone is seated again, our moderator will present questions. Candidates will have 1 minute to respond. I want to point out that was thunder. I want to point out our timer in the front row here. She has a countdown timer that will be visible to the candidates. So candidates, please pay attention to this. we haven't had to bring out a hook yet, but, you know, we will cut you off if we have to. After the event concludes, you're welcome to gather in the space outside of this forum, collect material from candidates, ask more questions of the candidates, whatever you like. I wanted to point out a few more resources. I've already talked about our voter guide, which came out last week. Another resource that just came out today, the Maple Leaf has a guide out that I think has a lot of really good information. So you can't have too much information. So I definitely recommend taking a look at that. And then one other thing I would point you to is Vote 411. This is the League's award-winning voting portal, and it has our online voter guide that has the full guide. This printed guide is really an abridged version of what's available online. And the nice thing about Vote 411 also is that if you enter your street address, it will bring up your ballot and give you a side-by-side presentation and comparison of the candidates who will be on your ballot. So it's just a nice, very direct way of examining your options. So that's all I have to say. The boring part is over. I'm going to turn the program over to our moderator for the evening, Meg Pauken, who is our vice president of our board. So take it away, Meg.
Good evening, everyone. The schedule, our agenda is up on the screen, and that is the order we will take things in. First up this evening is the Geauga County Mental Health Levy, and speaking about that is Christine Lacomiac. The county is seeking a 0.7 mil renewal levy for mental health programs, collecting about $2.285 million annually, about $19 for every $100,000 of value. It's a 5-year renewal levy. So Christine, if you would like to come speak.
Good evening. I absolutely appreciate the time that I'm given to speak with you. I'm the Executive Director for the Geauga County Board of Mental Health and Recovery Services, and as we were just mentioned, we're asking for your support for Issue 22. It's a levy that's been supported for 34 years in Geauga County. It's a 0.7 mil renewal. It's not a new tax, and it's about $19 per $100,000 for a period of 5 years. Mental health and recovery services boards are charged with planning, funding, evaluating, and monitoring mental health and substance use services in our county. And the way that we do that is that we provide funding to agencies in Geauga County to provide direct service to Geauga County residents. Services provided with this funding include mental health and substance use disorder treatment and prevention for all ages. Some of the things that we're able to do with this funding are clinical services, including psychiatry, case management, counseling, inpatient hospitalization, substance use disorder treatment, residential treatment, and recovery housing. We have support groups and services for family and friends who are grieving the loss of a loved one from suicide or overdose, trauma response services, and debriefing for our community when tragic events happen here, including debriefing for our first responders and first-line staff who selflessly assume the role of lifesaver every single day here. We have CIT training, crisis intervention training for our first responders. It's a 40-hour course for first responders in Geauga County. Multiple outpatient clinical and supportive services to keep individuals in the community. We know that the best results and options are when an individual can stay at home and receive treatment. We partner with multiple systems offering support and care for folks in foster care, courts, and the juvenile justice system. Some of the funding goes to agencies such as Family Pride, Red Tulip, Lake Geauga Recovery Centers, NAMI, the Lost Team, and Women's Safe. We need your support in order to continue these services, but most importantly, please know that help is available, that treatment is available, and people recover. If you know someone or yourself that needs help, please reach out to 988 or our COPE line. Don't struggle alone. There's help available. Again, I ask issue 22 if we could get your support. It really provides life-saving services in Geauga County. Thank you.
I don't believe we had any questions. Okay.
Okay.
Great. Well, good, thank you. All right, thank you, Christine. We appreciate your input on that important issue. The next issue we'll be dealing with is the public health levy. And Richard Pereno will be speaking on that. So the Geauga County health levy is another renewal levy, 0.2 mil, collecting $653,000 annually, which amounts to about $5 per $100,000 of value. And again, it's a 5-year levy. Rich, if you'd like to come speak to it, that would be terrific.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name's Rich Pereno, and I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this event, along with Chardon Middle School. That's great that we can all come and present our case, and for the public to hear what's on the ballot for November. So I'm here to talk about the Geauga County Health District levy. It's a 0.2 mil renewal. It's issue number 23 on the November 7th ballot. The levy renewal, again, is it costs about $5 per $100,000 of evaluation. So if you have a $400,000 house, it costs you about $20 per year. So it's very, very reasonable. It's actually the lowest levy on the ballot. Again, it is a renewal. It's not a tax increase. It's a 5-year levy, and it brings in approximately $653,000 a year to the department. The levy is about 18 to 20% of the annual revenue for the department. The health district's not part of the county budget and receives its funding from grants, licensing, and permitting fees, as well as this levy. The health district provides a variety of services, including tracking vital health statistics and conducting animal bite investigations to prevent the spread of rabies. They also perform commercial and household sewage inspections, as well as plumbing, restaurants, school, and well inspections. A good example of this is we just had the Geauga County Fair about, 6-7 weeks ago. The department was tasked with the responsibility of inspecting all the food trucks to make sure that they were all, compliant. The health district does work with the Department of Emergency Services and other state and local agencies to coordinate emergency preparedness and response. An important note to keep in mind is Geauga County consistently ranks as one of the healthiest counties in the state. Typically, we're always either number 1 or number 2 in the state of Ohio. With that being said, please support the health of Geauga County in this renewal by voting yes on issue 23, November 7th ballot. Thank you. And I still have a few seconds
Rich,
left.
if I can have you step over here, we have a question for you.
Sure.
So let me get back to my mic.
Okay.
And, I'm going to have to do my spin here with my cords. There we go. All right. I'm a dancer. All right. Given that the cross-jurisdictional agreement was supposed to save money, what are you asking for money for?
Okay. So that's a very good question. A lot of people did not understand why we did the cross-jurisdictional agreement. what we did was we looked at the finances, and doing the cross-jurisdictional agreement with Lake County is actually projected to save between $300,000 to $600,000 a year for the health department. Now, keep in mind, we also, this levy has been a renewal. I think it's been in existence for like 20 plus years. So that's why we did what we did as a board. We thought it was a fiscally responsible thing to do to try to save money wherever we could. I will let everybody know, probably that's not aware, if you don't have a levy to fund the health department, they do have the authority, or they can go ahead and assess the individual townships. That has not been done in Geauga County for a long time. Okay, my time is up. Yep.
Thanks, Rich. I have no more questions.
All right, thank you.
Thanks very much. Thanks. So now we are going to kick it off with Hampden Township trustee. Hampden Township has three trustee positions open. In our voter guide that was printed, we mistakenly said that there were two. So we have the first race, which we're going to discuss first here with Mr. McClintock, is for the full term. There is a second race for a partial term for which two people may be elected. Okay? So we've corrected the information on Vote 411 and through social media and letters to the editor, but I did want to clarify that in case anyone noticed that in the voter guide and caught that little error. So first up, we have Keith McClintock, and you may proceed with your 3 minutes.
Good evening. First off, how many people in attendance this evening are from Hampden? Raise them high and proud. Nice. Well, welcome. And welcome to everyone that will be watching this in a recorded state later in the week or later in the month. Once again, my name is Keith McClintock, and I'm proud to be one of your Hampden Township trustees, having served in this role for the past 16 years. This year's election is a bit of an odd one in Hampden, as was mentioned, in that all three trustee positions are up. And that's due to two trustee appointments having been filled in the past 21 months. As a result, there will be at least two new trustees in 2024 with a maximum of 3 months of experience. I am the only candidate with extensive institutional knowledge of our community, spanning for the past 16 years. It is vital that we have a township trustee who understands the history, management, and nuances of every aspect of our township and can provide guidance in making decisions based on what is best for Hampden Township. I have the experience and leadership to do just that and to help move us forward in a positive direction. I have enjoyed serving our community and continuing to strengthen the long-standing relationships we have forged with the county offices, local businesses, and neighboring communities. I have a servant's heart and believe that one of my strong points is listening to the residents and staff as they voice concerns and share any issues or ideas that they may have. I try to do everything in my power to address every problem that is brought to me. Problem solving is part of the role that I find most fulfilling, especially when it's for the betterment of our community. My priorities are to continue to build upon what we already focus on each and every day, year after year. I want to ensure we are strong financial stewards of our taxpayer dollars, striking a balance between conserving as much as possible for road maintenance and capital expenditures, while also responsibly spending to address our needs and maintain our community, all without raising taxes and burdening our residents. One thing I love about the township trustee position is that it is a non-partisan position. One of the few elected positions in government that is nonpartisan. As a result, we do not see issues as blue or red. Decisions are based on solely what is best for our community. And you have my word, that is where I come from on every issue. So I hope to have your support on November 7th for the full term on the ballot and I encourage everyone to get out and vote. Thank you for your attention this evening, and thank you to the League of Women Voters.
You may have a seat. We do have some questions. So we will not be hearing from the other candidate for this full term this evening. However, we do have some questions. So the first question that we have is, and I'll remind you, you have a minute to answer, what particular issue motivates you to serve as a trustee?
I would say that one particular issue is making sure that the community is managed responsibly, that we have strong financial oversight, and that we follow all the procedures and rules that are set forth in the Ohio Revised Code. And I'm proud to say that we just had an audit from the state of Ohio in which we had a very clean audit. There were no findings and no exceptions. It was a completely clean audit without any further recommendations.
Terrific, thank you. We have another question. How do you plan to involve Hampden Township residents in the decision-making process for the township?
Once again, township trustee meetings occur twice a month. They're open to the public, and we welcome public to come in and to see what's happening in their township and to ask questions and to seek feedback. The other thing, too, is my phone is always on. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that any resident has. Every 10 years, we do a comprehensive land use update, and there's a survey of the community at that time. And both of the past two surveys that have been done were very similar in nature. Residents are happy with the rural atmosphere that is provided in the township and large lot zoning. And I think as long as their roads are plowed and properly maintained, they're happy, and we do not hear much.
All right, last question. If elected, what steps would you take to ensure that Hampden Township is on a firm financial footing?
Once again, I make sure that we continue all financial practices that we're currently following, and also to follow the planning guides that we have put forward. We have a 5-year capital plan. We have a 5-year road maintenance plan. So we know exactly how much money we're going to spend each year, and we budget that out and make sure that our levies cover those needs.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. McClintock.
Thank you.
All right. For the partial township trustee term for Hampden Township, there are 3 candidates and 2 may be elected. David P. Johnson, Robert Kandra, and Catherine Wolcott. Mr. Johnson, I invite you to come to the podium and give your 3-minute opening.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, League of Women Voters. I haven't been a trustee, but I'd like to be one. So I need to give you a little background on myself and my family. I'm a graduate from Chardon High School, was born and raised here, lived here for 60 years. My wife, Beverly, same thing, raised here, been married 36 years. We have our family that still lives on our original farm, 2 children, Jessica and Kyle. Jessica and my son-in-law live right next door where I grew up. They have 2 kids, Bethany and Wyatt. They're our 8th generation on our farm. My son Kyle lives on a farm also. Besides every one of us having a day job, we still do farming. My first job at 13 was for a farmer in Hampden, and it was Spear Farm, William Spear, that's now Spear Tractor. For most of, I think one of the most rewarding things to still live there is to know that we're still farming and the benefit of farming property that was started by my family in the 1800s, 1874. I own and operate a business, Mapledale Farm. We have been in the landscape and supply business for 41 years. My wife and children have worked alongside of me in this business. Originally, it was a partnership between myself and my parents, and my wife joined along. And kids, they were made to work. Community is very important to my wife and myself and my family. It takes a community to raise a family, and we firmly believe that. We've been blessed by Hamden and the people of Hamden and surrounding areas. We feel that it's important to give back. My wife and my mother helped with the Hamden Community Picnic for over 10 years. Naturally, I had to help donate my time also. We also help with the fire department with their fundraisers. We donate our time to Chardon Farmers Market, Chardon Chamber of Commerce, other events, Chardon Rotary. We donate to Veterans Food Pantry. I've done that for quite a few years, and donate quite a bit of time to our church, Leroy Community Chapel. I'm a past head deacon. My wife's a past head deaconess. We also donate services to Hannah's Home in Mentor. Currently a member of Chardon Chamber, Chardon Rotary, board member, Farm Bureau, maple syrup producers, Destination Geauga, and much more. It's too many to list. My key priorities have been the preservation of Hamden and its rural character, the transparency in all the duties that are required, and bring integrity to everything we do.
Time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have quite a full agenda tonight, so we are going to have to stick to our time closely. Mr. Kendra, if you would like to come up and give your opening.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks to the League of Women Voters. Appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight to talk with you. My name is Bob Kendra, and I'm currently one of your trustees that are serving. I was appointed following the passing of Paul Mullen, and so far I can tell you that I've really enjoyed the job. Rather than being born in Hamden, my wife and I, Beth, chose to come here and make this our home. 40 years ago, after earning my undergrad degree and law degree, I started a career in the U.S. government in the intelligence and security and foreign policy community. It was along with the prior service in the Marine Corps. I know we have at least one other Marine. I heard an hoorah there after the pledge. We launched on what we see as a true adventure overseas. Mostly overseas, mostly in conflict areas. I'm a veteran of Gulf War I, Gulf War II, 2 tours in Afghanistan and Bosnia and a number of other places. I retired in 2012 after 30 years in government, where I gained deep experience in managing budgets and programs, dealing with personnel issues, and overseeing large programs. I gained a deep respect for the challenges that can create and got experience working with both state and local governments. At this juncture in my life, it's an opportunity to give back. I've served as a university professor. I substitute teach at this school and neighboring districts in Cardinal and Berkshire. Kindergarten gym was the hardest class I ever had to do, but I managed that. This is a position that I seek rather than one that I need. I consider myself a workhorse and not a show pony. I've served 1 year on the Hamden Township Zoning Board before accepting this position, and recently was instrumental in helping us get a $20,000 grant for the Hamden Fire Department for our first responders to compensate them a little bit more for all the time and effort they put in during the COVID crisis. I believe a trustee must be accessible, must be accountable. You deserve good government and competent government. And that's what the trustee position should deliver to you. Experience matters. So for however this election turns out, Beth and I love this community and will always work to be a positive force in it. There's a great slate of candidates. Whoever you choose first, if it's not me, I hope I'll be your second choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kendra. Ms. Wolcott.
Good Good evening. My name is Catherine Wolcott. I would like to start by thanking the League of Women's Voters, Chardon Schools, GTV, and you for being here tonight. I am one of the 3 candidates seeking the 2 available unexpired terms for Hampden Township trustee. I am a wife to Steve, stepmom to Caden, and dog mom to JD and Buster. I was born in Hampden, and I graduated from Chardon in 2009, making me a 4th-generation graduate. In 2015, I started a business raising and selling freezer meats that is known today as GAR Horizons on the Hampden property that I grew up on. Living here was always important to me, and I value it more as I've gotten older. My business and I give back to the community in numerous ways, including being a 4-H advisor as well as sponsorships and donations to local charitable events. While being a business owner, I have learned to budget and be financially responsible with my everyday judgments. I am currently a member of Chardon Square Association, the Chardon Area Chamber of Commerce, and the Geauga County Farm Bureau. My involvement with the Farm Bureau included 3 years being on the board and serving 2 years as secretary. I was able to sit in and learn about their yearly audit. More specific to Hampden Township, I initiated the Farmers Market in 2017, and I served on the Hampden Land Use Committee in 2020. Residents' survey indicated they moved to Hampden because of the rural feel. As a farmer, I feel it is important that our township remains rural and minimally developed. I will work with the zoning inspector to see that laws are enforced. Hampden is a great place to live and raise a family. I would like to see that it stays an affordable place to live. It is important that our voters approve our road and bridge levies. As renewals, there will be no tax increases from these levies. My top priorities as trustee include that our township remains rural, our roads are maintained in satisfactory conditions, and our tax dollars are spent wisely. As a younger resident, I am thinking of the future and would like to see a plan for expanding our cemetery as our population increases. There has been discussion on building a new fire station along with a new road garage. It would be nice to purchase the property adjacent to our town hall to accommodate these future plans. When elected, I will give my all as trustee and will do my best to make sure your issues and concerns are addressed. Thank you for your support.
Thank you all very much for your helpful and enlightening remarks. We're going to start with the questions that we asked the other candidate for Hampden Township trustee. We felt they were relevant to everyone. And I'll start at this end of the table, and then each time I'll give another of you a chance to go first. So starting first with Mr. Johnson, what particular issue motivates you to serve as trustee?
My family's been here as long as they have, and I want to keep it the way it is. Our predecessors have done a tremendous job, and I'd like to carry that on for my kids and my grandkids. And when I retire, I plan on staying here. And we just love the community, and we don't want to see it change.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kandra, how would you answer that question? What particular issue motivates you to serve as trustee?
I think the biggest issue that motivates me is, as I said earlier, is the opportunity to give back. I think that during the several months that I've been working as a trustee, I see that we have, not challenges, but managing the budget and being able to ensure that we're spending within our means and spending wisely. It's a very important part of it. And I see pieces to this particular challenge that remind me of some of my others. For me, the competent government piece is really key, and I think that everyone in Hampden deserves that. And for me, I know that I feel like I could give that.
Thank you. Ms. Wolcott, what particular issue motivates you to serve as a trustee?
As stated, I just would like to see that our township remains rural, and I enjoy being involved in the community to see that things are maintained in satisfactory condition as they are.
Great. Thank you all. I'll start with you this time, Mr. Kandra. How do you plan to involve Hampden Township residents in the decision-making process for the township?
As Mr. McClintock said, we meet and have open meetings twice a month. One thing that I have found is that there is a deep pool of experience and knowledge, obviously, in the community, especially the business community in Hampden. So when we're faced with issues that we're looking at whether we need to hire new people or what type of skills or what type of equipment we may need or what type of resources, being able to reach out to our local community and tap into those resources is, for me, a very good way to go. I think that I don't want to sit back and wait for someone to come forward. I have no problem reaching out and saying, listen, what do you think? Do you have any advice that we could weave into the mix before we present a decision to see if you like it?
Thank you. Ms. Woolcott, how do you plan to involve Hampden Township residents in the decision-making process for the township?
I would also like to encourage people to go to trustee meetings and be involved to know what's going on. As I've had interest in becoming trustee, it amazes me how people really didn't know how many trustees there were, or different things like that. I've gone to a handful of meetings prior to running for trustee, and it's just I deal with a lot of people in the community, and I enjoy talking to people, especially having a business in my store. So I think it would be great if people would want to come to me to ask questions, and I can answer them the best I can.
Thank you. Ms. Woolcott, I'll start with you this time. If elected, what steps would you take to ensure Hampden Township is on a firm financial footing?
I would work with the fiscal officer, I guess, and find out information, as I just had reviews of the budget with him and felt that our finances are being well managed, and just keep continuing to look at that.
Okay. Mr. Johnson, what steps would you take to ensure Hampden Township is on a firm financial footing?
So far, they've done a tremendous job. And what I would do is just work with the other trustees and the road superintendent, fiscal officer, everybody involved that controls all the costs, and track the costs the best of our ability to know that we're being fiscally responsible and being a good steward with what's given us.
All right. Thank you very much. Good questions, audience. Much appreciated. And thank you, candidates. Wait, what?
That's all right, you missed me on the other one.
I am so sorry. It is, I should have had that second cup of coffee. Mr. Kandra, I'm so sorry. If elected, what steps would you take to ensure Hampden Township is on firm financial footing?
My experience has been, my sister tries to cross bridges when she gets to them. My experience has been that you're much better off if you try to cross those bridges miles before you get to them. That's why we have a 10-year plan. That's why we try to project out what our road improvement costs are going to be, what our equipment costs are going to be, so that we're not surprised, so that we're not shocked to all of a sudden learn that we have a need that we haven't addressed or planned for, and that we haven't planned for things we didn't expect. So we try to do that now, and that's something I continue to do.
Thank you. My apologies for inadvertently skipping you. Thank you. Did I skip you on the second question?
Yeah, it's okay.
Oh my gosh, you guys, what am I? I need some vitamins or something. Did I really? I am so sorry. Well, then you get to answer the second question. If I skipped you, it was inadvertent on my part. How do you plan to involve Hampden Township residents in the decision-making process for the township, Mr. Johnson?
Glad you asked. My business has been run in Hampden for 41 years. We know a lot of people. Feedback from the community is terrific. Our store is always open. People know to get a hold of me. And also, go to the Township Trustees meeting. Go to other events, not just that, whether it's the community picnic or whether it's the clam bake for the fire department. But, that involvement and trying to get the residents more involved in their community, I think is very important for us to encourage as trustees.
Terrific. Thank you.
You didn't miss anything
Did I miss
else.
anybody
No, you're
else?
good.
Okay. Thank you all
Thank
very
you.
much. All right, Hampden Township tax levy. I don't believe we have anyone here to present on that, so I'll share the information we have. It's a 1 mil renewal levy to fund streets, roads, and bridges, collecting $129,000 annually, which amounts to $26 for every $100,000 in value. It's a 5-year levy commencing in 2024, which means that the first payment on this levy would be due in 2025. All right? So we should be to the Munson Township trustees. There we are. And for Munson Township trustees, we have Glenn Kinter and Nate McDonald. Mr. Kinter, if you'd like to step up and give your 3-minute presentation, that would be terrific.
Let the seat get warm. Good evening. Thank you for coming tonight, and a special thank you to the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this event. I am Glenn Kinter, a former teacher and a candidate for the trustee seat in Munson Township. My wife and I have resided in Munson Township for 35 years. We chose to live in Munson because of the rural character and the fine schools. Our daughter Erin went to Munson Elementary School and graduated from Chardon High School. My volunteer experiences include, currently I am a Munson Park and Recreation Board member. I helped organize the Relay for Life hosted by the Sisters of Notre Dame. I was Chardon School's Marching Band Parent Volunteer Coordinator. I managed the Girl Scout Troops cookie sales for 10 years. I've been a Girls Assistant Softball Coach. I served on Munson School's Principal Advisory Council. I represented Munson Township on the Chardon Adult Education Program, and I represented Munson in the Chardon School Superintendent Search Committee, and I co-chaired the Munson School Bell Restoration Committee. I've always placed Munson first in my life. And again, I placed Munson first when I got involved in Munson's government after there were 8 accidents in 6 weeks at the intersection near where I reside. I went to meetings and demanded that something be done about one of the most dangerous intersections in our township. And again, when over the past few years of attending township meetings, I realized that our current government demands that the development of a solid strategic plan. And if you entrust me with your 4 years as your representative, I promise I will continue to place the needs of Munson first. I will keep Munson first in all my actions as a trustee and continue to work to mend relationships. This is something I have been doing since last April. I want to keep Munson first and create a welcoming environment to township meetings. I want residents to feel invited. I want residents to be able to feel they can bring their questions forward and receive answers. I want transparency in our government. I want to keep Munson first and develop a strategic plan where our roads are crack sealed yearly and are repaved on a regular basis. I want our road department to have safe and operable equipment which is replaced as needed. This takes planning and budgeting. This is my promise to place Munson needs and safety first. If you elect me as your trustee, I will join Andy Bushman in not taking the $35,000 a year health care package, allowing the money to remain in the general fund. Keeping Munson first means safety first. Placing the needs of our road department first, placing the needs of our fire department first.
Your time is up.
35 years ago, I chose Munson.
Thank you.
Today I'm asking Munson to choose me.
Mr. McDonald, please come up and give your 3-minute speech.
Thank you. Thank you to the League of Women Voters, and thank you to all of you for coming here tonight. This is a really important process. I'm Nate McDonald, like they said, and as a Munson native with over 100 years of family history in this township, I'm running because I'm deeply invested in the good stewardship of the township for now and for our future generations. I live with my wife and our 3 kids on Sherman Road in the farmhouse where I grew up. My parents also grew up in Munson, and they still farm the Gray Horse Farm where they were for 40 years. I worked there when I was younger, mostly baling hay, and my parents still farm along Sherman, Auburn, and Mayfield. I went to Munson Elementary. I played Munson baseball back when it was Munson baseball, and now I coach in the Chardon Baseball League. I coach my son's teams. As a kid, I sold milk to the Sisters of Notre Dame from my 4-H dairy cow, and I sold sweet corn at the corner of Bass Lake and Mayfield Road, and that was before the YMCA was there. Now I'm a poll worker at the Sisters of Notre Dame polling site, and I coach basketball at the YMCA. So these deep roots in Munson help me understand the rural and historic character that we love, but I also want to highlight some of my professional experience that is relevant to the role of a trustee. First, I was the principal of a small private high school for 4 years from 2012 to 2016. And as the leader of a small school, I was responsible for a $2 million budget and all school operations, from HR to communications to managing student discipline. And that tight budget and listening objectively and communicating diplomatically with a diverse set of stakeholders, from the students to the board of directors, gave me experience in the tough decisions that leadership demands. Second, I'm a lawyer, and I have relevant experience and training in sunshine laws, open meetings, contracts, and my experience includes private practice and also government work. I also have quite a bit of nonprofit board experience. For example, I was the president of the Cleveland Council of Independent Schools, and I'm currently on the visioning committee for Hershey Montessori School. And I think this experience is directly relevant to the way that meetings are conducted and some of the procedures and duties of a trustee. And I want to end by saying that public service is an honor, and that's part of why I'm running as well. And so I'm committed to being a trustee who develops working relationships with everyone in the community, and I'll be objective, engaged, and collaborative. I want to just say quickly that time's up, and I'm looking forward to your questions.
I want to remind our candidates to make sure they speak into the microphone closely so that we can hear you well, and you'll be on the recording that'll be posted later. All right. I should be able to keep 2 candidates together where I couldn't do 3. So let's see what I can do here. Mr. Kinter, I'll start with you. Please share your views on large lot zoning and your role in accomplishing strong zoning regulations.
My views are that large lot zoning is necessary and it should be preserved.
Okay. Mr. McDonald.
Well, I would start by saying that Munson is a leader in zoning, and in the 1940s, Munson was one of the first townships to have zoning. And my great-grandfather was actually one of the first zoning on this first zoning board. So large lot zoning is great, and it's important for Munson in terms of the protection of the rural character of the community, but also our infrastructure depends on it. Residents have septic systems and wells, and for septic systems and wells to work well, you need a larger lot. And so large lot zoning is really important to maintain, and it's important that we stick with it.
Thank you. All right, I'll start with you this time, Mr. McDonald. How will you work to keep the peace among your fellow trustees when the conversation gets heated?
That's a great question for any group of people who are working together. And I think the key is listening and having a collaborative spirit. Being able to not just listen to what people are saying and the words that they're putting forward, but also to think about what do they really mean and what are they really trying to get at? What is their perspective on this and where are they coming from? And I do have some background in mediation. One of the things that I do, that I have done, is mediate cases as a lawyer, and I'm presently the coordinator of my office's mediation program. So I think I have a good bit of experience in terms of just thinking about the ways that people can come together and what brings people apart. And so my goal is to take a collaborative approach to this role and try to make sure that we do bring people together.
Thank you. Mr. Kinter, how will you work to keep the peace among your fellow trustees when the conversation gets heated?
Well, I don't know about how much it'll get heated, but I have worked well with, recently we had a fire levy issue on, and there was some division amongst, or some differences, and I talked to both sides and took their points and talked to the fire department's chief side, and I talked to both to Mr. Bushman and Mr. McCaskey and at great lengths, and I took each and what they said, and I finally went to all three of them and I said, guys, you have more in agreement than you do disagreement, and I think we can sit down and we can reach a deal, and that's what happened.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Kinter, I'll start with you this time. If the additional 0.95 mil levy for road improvements and the additional 1.15 mils levy for fire and EMS pass, how would you prioritize projects on which to spend the additional tax revenue?
Well, the additional tax revenue for the road department is trustees have control over it. And a couple of priorities that I would have is to see that our township has the trucks that it needs, that's necessary to make it through the winter months. Currently, we are at a situation where if you ask our road department, if you ask them what's the success rate of getting through the township winter successfully, they'll tell you 70%. Those are not good for me. We all went to school. We knew what a 70% grade was. As for the fire department, that is going to be up to our fire chief and the fire department to manage those funds. We oversee it, but they are the ones who have discretion of those funds.
Great. Mr. McDonald, if the additional 0.95 mil levy for road improvements and the additional 1.15 mil levy for fire and EMS pass, how would you prioritize projects on which to spend the additional tax revenue?
Well, first of all, I want to say that we do need to pass both of those levies. Both levies are necessary and essential for filling in gaps and being strategic about providing really high quality services that our residents expect. So that's number one. In terms of priorities for the road, I agree with Glenn that we need to work on the trucks and we need to update our machinery to make sure that our good road department has the resources that they need. So starting with the trucks, but then also going to the superintendent of the roads and asking him and making a plan in terms of priorities from there. In terms of the fire department, I think that it's a strategic plan for going forward in terms of having a sustainable budget that is based on the current funding, the levy funding, and then also thinking for the future and making a good plan to go forward and have what that excellent fire department needs.
Thank you. All right, last question, and I'll start with you, Mr. McDonald. What are the top priorities you will try to accomplish in your first 90 days in office?
Well, first of all, 90 days is pretty quick, but the main thing will be hopefully this levy funding the levies will have passed and we will move straight to using that those roads funds to address the truck issue. That's one thing. Second of all, I think that it's the January meeting is the organizational meeting for the trustees, and that at that meeting you determine procedures, you look forward to how the meetings are going to be run, and I think there are some adjustments that can be made around that, and so I will work with the other trustees right then and there to think about how we're running our meetings and how we can make some key adjustments, tweaks that will help to make everything go smoother and be more collaborative.
Terrific. Mr. Kinter, what are the top priorities you will try to accomplish in your first 90 days in office?
First of all, is to establish open meetings where residents can come and bring their concerns and get questions answered, and not given the old refrain, this is public comment time only, we don't take questions. That's number one. Number two, if the levies pass, work on purchasing the second truck. We just purchased one, which would have to be done with, again, borrowing the money to do so, because if the levy passes, that money will not be seen until January of 2025. That's when the money starts being collected, not January of 2024. And that's where, if you pay attention to all the levies, that's when it'll start being paid. It's collected as 2025. So therefore, I think just continuing to build bridges with everybody is my key.
All right. Thank you both very much. Did I get everybody? I think I got everybody. All right. Doing better with this one. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. Very helpful. What? He's not running.
But he's not running.
He's not running. All right. Next up, we have Munson levies. There are two. There is one, a 0.95 mil for streets, roads, and bridges, and there is another 1.15 for fire and EMS. And I believe Mr. Bushman is here to speak. Are you speaking to both or just one? Both. Both? Okay.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you to the League of Women Voters, Chardon Schools, GTV. This is always a great event. I'm going to save you a little bit of time. I'm going to talk about both levies at the same time, so I don't get 6 minutes. I'll stick to my 3. The Munson Township Board of Trustees understand how important it is for the township residents to be fully informed about their government, particularly when the citizens are tasked with making decisions regarding the funding of township services. On election day, the residents will have the opportunity to vote on a 0.95 mil road levy and a 0.15 mil fire levy. The cost of these levies is minimal. For example, if a home was appraised by the county auditor valued at $100,000, the road levy would be $33 per year or $2.75 per month. The fire levy would be $40 per year, or $3.33 per month. The proposed levies would be in effect for 5 years. The levies contribute to road construction, reconstruction, equipment replaces within the road department, and the comprehensive plan for providing fire and EMS service to the residents of Munson. The township, with the third largest population in Geauga County, the Munson Township Road Department provides maintenance for over 48 miles of township roads, and the fire department protects over 7,500 residents. The demand for year-round maintenance of our roadways includes snow removal, and that increases every year, seems to be. Unfortunately, due to skyrocketing cost of road servicing, the former 10 to 12-year paving rotation has been extended to 17 to 20-year rotation. This year, the cost to repave a mile roadway reached an all-time high of $330,000 per mile, compared to only $175,000 in 2018. Now, not only with resurfacing costs have risen, so have daily costs. Fuel, road supplies, fire equipment, all have seen dramatic increases in cost of over 40% in the recent years. If sticker shock wasn't enough, the township is now waiting 2 years for new vehicles to arrive. We are seeing the same trend of increased cost in the fire department as well. We have waited over 18 months for a new fire truck. The cost to replace a new EMS squad has gone up over $75,000 over the past 2 years. We try to keep the fleets moving and up to date. The task is increasingly difficult due to supply chain constraints. Remember, fire trucks and road department are not available at car dealerships like Junction Auto. Beyond keeping the roads, property, and residents safe, our dedicated road and fire departments pride themselves in serving Munson Township. Already this year, the road department has completed over 7,500 hours of work, and the fire department has responded to over 1,200 calls. The fire and road department depend on the funding for these levies. Residents count on a hazard-free, safe roadways, prompt EMS and fire service. Parents need to be confident school buses can travel safely, and everyone deserves to know that critical fire services can reach them in an emergency, no matter the condition or situation. Thank you very much. Please support our levies.
Thank you, Mr. Bushman. We don't have any questions for you. All right. The next race we'll be discussing is for Chardon trustee. Paul McGill and Chuck Straczynski are our two candidates. Mr. McGill, you may step up and give us your 3 minutes.
Just start. Hello, my name is Paul McGill. I'm running for Chardon Township trustee. First and foremost, thank you, Women League the Voter, for hosting this event. Chardon Schools for allowing us to use their facilities. GTV for casting us, and of course you, the audience, for showing up here. That includes my wonderful, beautiful wife as well. A little bit about me. I'm new to the area. Born and raised down near Akron, in Stowe, Ohio, and Talmadge, Ohio. 3 years now up here in Chardon Township. Love it. Fell in love real quick with the area. It's beautiful. I love having the semi-rural feel, the land, and I fell in love with the community pretty quickly. To the point where I bought a local business. We bought the laundromat here in Chardon, over there across from Dairy Queen. Talk about planting a flag. That was that. So real happy to be here. A little history on me. Again, married, 4 kids, 1 grandchild. Couldn't be happier. And of course, Louie the dog, who we named the laundromat after. So now you know it's Louie's Laundromat. That's after our dog. My background itself is I spent 30 years in banking. The last 10, I was a partner in a finance company. Before that, 20 years as a bank manager. So you want to talk about balancing and handling budgets and things of that nature. Things as small as my bank account to as large as $100 million worth of branches. Numbers is my background. My partner and I, my former partner and I, in the finance company, I was in charge of compliance. He was in charge of sales. In other words, what I used to like to say is, he brought the business in the door, I kept the door open. No cutting the corners. So, in my understanding, with this is new to me. I have not been in a position that is voted on since high school. So bear with me here if I stumble a little bit. But my background, again, I feel lends credence to exactly what I would have to do as a township trustee. I'm a listener, first and foremost. Something I've never understood in sales and in business in general is people that don't pick up the phone and return phone calls. That is my bread and butter, has always been, and that's something that I pride myself on. So if you call me, you can guarantee a return phone call. If you want to have a conversation, I'll meet you wherever you want to meet to have that conversation. I'm very big. I like to be active in my community. I was a former member of Big Brothers and Big Sisters. I was also on the board of Akron Up Downtowners, which was revitalizing the downtown Akron area. I was a member of 4 different chambers of commerce. I'm also now involved with the Chardon Chamber of Commerce. A joke that I hear about township trustees is the job is dealing with potholes and permits. That's funny enough, but I do believe that there's much more to it than that. I even took a phone call just today about asking about roads. I found that to be interesting.
Your time is up.
My time's up. I have a lot more to say, but my time's up.
I appreciate you abiding by our rules.
Absolutely.
All right. Mr. Straczynski, you may give your 3-minute opening.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for coming, and also thanking you as everyone else has. My name is Chuck Straczynski. I'm here asking for the honor and the privilege to continue being a Chardon Township trustee. This is the end of my 16th year doing it, and fortunately, being the last township on here, I figured if I did half of Keith McClintock's speech and the other half of Dave Johnson's, I'd be done, except for my own family part of this. I say honor and privilege because I have a third say in how the tax dollars are spent, right where I live. That, I don't think you could ask for anything just neater than that. I work with 2 great trustees and have for the 3 of us for the last 6 years. Going on to a history of myself. I grew up in what was then Chardon Village, and now I've been in Chardon Township where I built my house, started 28 years ago. Raised all 4 of my children, were born here, went all the way through Chardon schools, all graduated from college at this point, left me all alone. But it's been great. Part of that history that I love about Chardon and why I'm still here after basically 50 years is simple things like this. And I think most everyone here is going to know this. The ice cream store King Cone that Mitch and his wife own. I'm proud to say my wife and I are the ones that named that King Cone when we first owned it years ago. And it's a family thing. Everyone knows King Cone, and they've continued that since we started that almost 30 years ago, and I love that. As far as what trustees do, the single biggest thing is roads. They have to be maintained. It's very difficult. No one wants to pay more taxes. Things have been stretched, but we've been able to do it, and we will continue. Hopefully, I should say, I will continue working with the other 2 trustees and continue what we've been working on. Thank you.
All right. We have several questions for you. Starting with Mr. McGill. If the additional road improvement 3 mil levy for Chardon Township passes, how would you prioritize projects on which to spend the additional tax revenue?
That's a good question. I know that the most recent levy did fail, so I do believe there's some sort of disconnect between our residents and our township government that needs to be addressed. But assuming it does pass, of course, outside of the equipment upgrades, maintenance and maintaining, and making sure that we have sufficient equipment to handle the jobs that are necessary to keep our roads safe. Me personally, after that, my priority list would be safety of our residents. Being in a township, what I've noticed is there's no sidewalks. Our neighborhoods, we live in Rory Glen Estates over there off of Hosford, and there's no sidewalks, and we walk our dogs in the road. Our kids play, they ride their bikes in the streets and whatnot. And if our streets aren't safe, crack-free, potholes, the whole ball of wax, that's a safety concern for me, for our family. So honest to goodness, that's my answer would be, after the equipment, would be prioritizing safety for our families.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Straczynski, if the additional road improvements 3 mil levy for Chardon Township passes, how would you prioritize the projects on which to spend the additional tax revenue?
Well, safety is always a concern, but we've got a pretty good list put together by our outstanding road crew, our road superintendent. We have been trying to increase. I know Mike Brown is going to be speaking. on the levy, and I know we're not supposed to do it, but the simple fact of the matter is we have not had a road levy increase since 2001. As far as addressing a disconnect, as he stated, having done this for 16 years, living here in the township itself for almost 30, it's very hard to get people involved with the township. We have a standard group of people that are at all of our meetings, and as I think it was an adjustment for Tim Kenna when he first started as trustee, Mike and I have always had this concept: we don't sit behind the table because we're different than you. We're exactly the same people as you are. We live here, and it's our place too.
Thank you. All right, next question, and I'll start with you, Mr. Straczynski. How do you plan to involve Chardon Township residents in the decision-making process for the township?
I guess I kind of handled some of that, but one of the things that Mike and I started doing a long time ago was that same concept. We are no different. We have a very enjoyable meeting for basically things that are very monotonous, and most people really don't know or want to hear about that. But we have a good group of people that come to these meetings, they try to promote it, and we interact with them just because it's simply, we're just another resident.
Okay. Mr. Miguel, how do you plan to involve Chardon Township residents in the decision-making process for the township?
To piggyback, more or less the same. I'm very involved in the community. Not only do we own the laundromat, I'm also a real estate agent, so I'm out there all the time in our communities, encouraging thoughts and to speak up and for the residents to be involved, as well as myself. I mean, this is where I live. This is where I'm going to retire. This is where I'm going to die someday. So the encouragement for everybody to be involved in their community is something that I've always strongly believed in. I was a coach for 15 years in my previous life. I'm just very involved in the community, and I think that shows through, and I think that is something that, if you're talking to me, you realize that, and maybe that gets you more excited about, hey, I do have a voice. I'm not just another vote, or I'm not just another a tax dollar. So that's how I would try to encourage folks to be a part of the community itself.
All right, thank you. Mr. McGill, how involved are you in the community of Chardon Township in attending trustee meetings and advocating for the residents?
Great question, and I'm going to tell you right now, again, I'm new. I'm not using that as an excuse. 3 years in, though, and I am learning my way around the township. I'm learning my way around this community in general, all the townships, not just Chardon Township, but all the townships as well as Chardon City itself. Getting to know folks faster than I thought I would, but it's been great, and I'm real happy about that. But just through more just community involvement myself and my family. I know, my wife and I are both very heavily involved with the schools and with volunteer projects and assisting where we can and whatnot. So it's just great. And even with people coming into the laundromat, it's funny how many conversations I ultimately get in just about everything and anything through the folks that I meet just even coming into the laundromat. So slowly but surely, I'm spreading my wings around here, and hopefully that continues. So.
Great, thank you. Mr. Straczynski, how involved are you in the community of Chardon Township, in addition to attending trustee meetings and advocating for the residents?
Well, I think I've only missed a couple meetings in the last 16 years, along with attending meetings before then. I have been self-employed in construction for most of my adult life, so even back early on, when things were not done around the town hall, conveniently, I happened to live right across the street from there, in the road garage. I would get calls all the time from our previous fiscal officer, Joni Windnagel, doing repairs and stuff like that, so that kind of thing. I also was involved with creating the first township park. I volunteered my time and my guys to build the existing pavilion that's there. I hate talking about it, but I did it to save tax dollars, and I could do it. So.
All right, thank you. I think I covered everybody. I think everybody answered every question. We're good. Thank you very much for your thoughtful answers. All right, so next we are going to talk about Chardon levies. There's a road levy and a fire levy, and I believe we have someone here to speak about the road levy first. Chardon is requesting 3 mills additional for streets, roads, and bridges. Michael Brown is going to speak to this. You have 3 minutes.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, League of Women Voters. Thank you, Chardon Middle School. And thank you very much, Mr. Jevnikar and GTV. We appreciate everything that you do. All right, so we have a 5-year, 3 mil additional road levy on the ballot this year. As you see on the screen there, levy is going to cost $105 per $100,000 of your property valuation, and it'll generate about $555,000 per year in revenue. The Board of Trustees has tried several times to get this passed, and every time we've made the commitment to everyone that all of these additional levy proceeds are going to go purely towards road reconstruction and resurfacing projects. So how did we come up with the 3 mil number? A lot of people ask me, and it actually goes all the way back to 2016. We sat down with Geauga County Engineer's Office. They assessed our road inventory, the needs that we had against our current revenue status, and at that time they said you need an additional $500,000 a year in order to maintain this. So if you figure that was back in 2016, we're now 7 years beyond that, and we've had multiple attempts to pass an additional road levy that have unfortunately not passed. So as Chuck mentioned, kind of took my steam there, Chuck, thanks. The last time we had additional road levy millage approved was back in 2001. As our colleague Tim always says in a meeting, imagine that you've been at your job since 2001 and you haven't gotten a raise. During that 22-year span, a lot of things have changed. One of them being the township lost, the state got rid of the inheritance tax, which everyone supports, but that was an additional revenue stream that would provide anywhere from $50,000 to even upwards of $400,000 per year that were usually dedicated to road projects. So also in that time span, you can look up online, according to the National Highway Construction Cost Index, from 2003 to current time, construction costs have went up by a factor of 2.86. So that effectively means we've got 1/3 of the purchasing power in the road levy monies that we did the last time that the levy was increased. So basically we sit with a status that we bring in about $730,000 a year for the road department, and we got expenses that are just slightly under $700,000, which only leaves about $40,000 to do road projects. So with an average project of $400,000 to $700,000 for a reconstruction of a road, that means we'd have to save up for about 10 years to do one road. All right.
Your time's up. Are you almost done, or do you have a lot more?
I'll just wrap it up by saying that, once again, all of these additional proceeds will be going purely for road reconstruction, and that please support this road levy. It's sorely needed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions?
I don't believe we had any questions about the road levy. Do we have anyone here to speak about the fire levy?
I can speak really briefly on that.
If you would like to go ahead.
I didn't prepare it. It is $406,000. The fire levy that's on the ballot right now is a renewal. It's not a new tax. It's a renewal of our existing 2.5 mil fire and EMS service levy. Brings in about $406,000 a year. All of those proceeds goes towards satisfying the contract that we have with the Chardon Fire Department. We've got a fantastic relationship with them. They are an incredible fire department. The residents are very blessed to have their services, and this is the baseline that we use. We have an additional levy that will come up later that we use to make up for any differences when we renegotiate the 3-year contracts with the fire department. But I ask you to support the fire levy. The Chardon Fire Department is incredible, and everybody, through mutual aid agreements and everything, everybody benefits from their skills. So please support the fire levy as well.
Thank you. All right, next we have the Village of Aquila tax levy, 1 mil. It's a renewal and an increase of 2.53 mils. 1 mil renewal, increase of 2.53, so there will be a total of 3.53 mils for current expenses, collecting $16,000 annually, about $121,000 for each $100,000 of value for a period of 5 years. I don't believe we have anyone from Aquila who is coming to present on that, so we will leave it at that. Next, we have Chardon Board of Education. We have 5 candidates for 3 positions. I'm going to ask our candidates to pay especially close attention to Chris Takis in the front row with her timer, so I don't have to bring out my mom voice, so we can make sure everyone gets a chance to speak. All right, and seated in front of you are Karen Blankenship, Andrea Clark, Sharon Madger, James Midyett, and Dr. Guy Wilson. So if we want to begin with Karen Blankenship, you may give your 3 minutes.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting these events for the candidates and the issues, and for the upcoming issues. And thank you to GTV. My name is Karen Blankenship, and I am a candidate for the Chardon School Board for a 4th term. My husband George and I purchased our first home in Munson in 1987. All 3 of our children attended Munson Elementary and are graduates of CHS. Why am I running for a 4th term? I am the proud grandparent of 3 future Hilltoppers, and I want to fight to maintain stability in our district so they can have the same or additional resources, programming, and opportunities that every student in Chardon deserves. I believe Chardon schools provide opportunities for a well-rounded education for our students. I also believe that schools must adapt to this ever-changing environment to prepare our students for their futures. One of the things we have been told since I have been on the board is that we are educating students today for jobs and/or careers that have not even been created yet. Chardon has done a great job of providing students with access to different programs and opportunities through STEM, engineering classes, video production, and crew, just to name a few. New this year is a program to give younger students exposure to different world languages. As much as I like to see new facilities for our school district, I understand that the voters spoke in the last bond issues and we listened. I believe we are headed in the right direction with the building modifications that we have done in recent years to provide an environment more conducive to learning. I would like to see the district continue focusing on our success plan 2023 to 2028 that was created with administrators, staff, and community members. With the 2022-2023 report card data, Chardon ranks 62nd, or in the top 10% in the state of Ohio. As you can see, I am proud of where Chardon schools are today, both financially and in the areas of curriculum and programming offerings compared to where we were 12 years ago. I believe in Chardon students and their future in our community. On Tuesday, November 7th, Chardon voters will be selecting 3 candidates for the Chardon School Board. Help make me one of them. Re-elect Karen Blankenship for Chardon School Board. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Andrea Clark, you may come up and give your 3-minute opening.
We good? Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. As everyone said, thank you to the League of Women Voters, and thank you to all of you currently here, those of you who are going to watch afterwards, for taking an interest in our community and our education and who is helping to be in charge of that. I am Andrea Clark, as they said, and I am running for one of the 3 positions on Chardon School Board. When my husband and I decided after I graduated and I was working at Rockwell Automation in Mayfield 13 years ago to look for a house, my first and most important priority was to find a school district with an excellent distinction or higher. We looked around to some of the districts around Chardon, but I found a house, or we found a house, in the woods of Burlington on a cul-de-sac, and I knew that that was going to be our forever home, and Chardon had the good school district, which was very important to me. They still maintain a good school district. Last year, as Mrs. Blankenship said, we were in the top 10% in the state. Since we moved in 13 years ago, we welcomed 3 beautiful children into our house, and they've started their way into the Chardon school system, all starting in kindergarten. I have moved down and take part-time jobs to allow myself to fully immerse and be with them, and therefore I have gotten to be very involved in our schools, and I see everything day to day. Especially involved, I was Munson PTO president, and now I'm involved at CMS. Right now, my twins are in 3rd grade at Munson, and I have a 5th grade daughter at CMS. I'd like to continue supporting the schools and using my time as a member of your school board. The students in the school district are my top priority, the kids I see in those schools every day. I want to work with collaboration of our teachers and our administrators to make sure that each and every children is given the opportunity to succeed and that we have access to high quality education that Chardon is offering. I support our teachers, and I'm very pleased so far with my experiences with them, with their willingness to answer my questions, to answer other parents' questions, and to teach to all levels. As I talk to them, some teachers I've talked to said they're teaching to 5 different levels in the classroom. And they do their best, and we need to support them doing that. I'm excited to see programming for our students, especially at CMS and at CHS, which contributes to all 4 E's, not just going to college. So I think as a school board member, I'd like to see support those teachers, retain those teachers, support all those programs, and make sure we are successfully preparing children in all 4 areas. I am not running with any personal goals, any political goals. I just want to support my children, the children, our teachers, and our administration. I ask for your vote in November, please.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Ms. Madger, you may come up and give your 3-minute opening.
Thank you, League of Women Voters, candidates, and guests. I am Sharon Major, and I'm a longtime resident of Hamden. My husband and I are proud parents of 3 sons, all who graduated from public schools. My oldest one graduated from Menor, and the other 2 from Chardon. They are now full grown and have made us proud grandparents. I decided to run for school board because I love Chardon and I believe I can be a positive influence on the district's educational outcomes. My goals are to keep academics a priority, become an advocate for special education, and also to communicate with parents on community and curriculum concerns. My eyes were open at how precious and how fragile our heritage is. Every area of life was affected by COVID, and education was one of the hardest hit. Public education is critically important, and it's under attack. We cannot let our public schools fail, or we're failing our community. Online learning and rush safety protocols dramatically impacted educational gains across the board, and especially in the lower grades in special education. My sons were all in special education. I can't even imagine what it was like during that time, because children in special education are on individual education plans called IEPs, and that means that they can get services like occupational therapy or speech therapy, and I can't imagine without that how they could fall behind. Children with when my sons were in Chardon Public Schools, I had struggles, and it was discouraging. And then as now, the state doesn't do its share to adequately help our public schools help its most vulnerable citizens. According to our superintendent, 12 to 13% of our students are special ed. Due to my special education advocacy experience, if elected, I am confident that I would be an advocate voice for special education. students. I intend to work with our superintendent, special education and educators and administrators to expand the impact and effectiveness of our services and to advocate, if possible, at the state level for special education policy and financing reform. These services should be fully funded from the start so that the full spectrum of services doesn't strain public school funds. Did you know it could cost up to $120K for one student to get special needs services? And the district has to bear that cost until the end of the year before it gets reimbursed. A sign of a great society is one that takes care of its most vulnerable citizens. I believe Chardon Schools wants what's best for students. It would be an honor to serve you on the Chardon Board of Education, and I ask you for your vote.
Thank you, Ms. Major. I'm sorry I mispronounced your name. I'll do better. Mr. Midyat, you may come and give your 3-minute presentation.
Good evening. First, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting the forum. I also want to thank the community for being here tonight. My name is James Midyat. My family and I have resided in Chardon for over 6 years. I am a state licensed professional engineer with 16 years of engineering experience. I hold master's and bachelor's degrees in electrical engineering. I have served 3 years on an HOA board and 6 years as a volunteer firefighter. My wife, who is here with my kids tonight, is 15 years. She's a state licensed teacher. We're the proud parents of 4 Chardon School students at CHS, CMS, and Park. We are active members of a nearby Presbyterian church. I am running for the board because, as a district parent, I have a vested interest in the success of our schools. I support our public schools, and I truly believe that this is where my kids will get the most well-rounded education. I trust the schools to academically prepare my children to competitively pursue a career, military service, or higher education following graduation. I am proud of the work that our chief administrators are doing. Over the course of the past 3 months, they have availed themselves to me several times, and I have learned so much. I thank them for that. I support our faculty and staff as they are fostering the growth and development of our children by way of strong academics and enriching arts and music. As the husband of a licensed teacher, I know the passion that they have for the education of our kids. I know and appreciate that being a teacher is not an easy job. I support our sports programs, and I am proud of our Chardon athletes and coaches. Apart from the obvious benefit of community solidarity, data shows that students that participate in school sports are consistently rewarded with vast improvements in their physical, mental, and emotional health. I support the renovations we've been making to our buildings, such as classroom upgrades, window replacements, and safety enhancements. These upgrades are necessary, and we need to continue those improvements over the next few years. If elected, I would uphold state and federal laws. I would conform to the codes of ethics and conduct as set forth in the board policy manual. I would not engage in management activities and would lead the day-to-day operations of the schools, the administration, faculty, and staff. I would listen to others with respect and seek productive cooperation with the other board members and the administration. I'd remember that as a board member, I am representing not just a subset, but the entire population of the district. Furthermore, I would accept board decisions even if I were not personally in favor of such, thereby fostering honor and dignity for the board and our schools. My name is James Midyat, father of 4 Chardon students, and I am respectfully asking for your vote early or on November 7th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Midyat. Dr. Wilson, you may come up and give your 3-minute presentation.
So I'm the one who's going to get hauled off, I think. Thanks, League of Women Voters, GTV, and for people appearing here, coming, spending this evening. It's wet outside, so you can't mow the lawn, so that's okay. My name is Guy Wilson, and I'm running for Chardon School Board. I'm committed to protecting our progress and ensuring an excellent education for our students. I've been married to Karen for 36 years, and we've lived continuously in the Chardon community for 33 years. We're vested and we have roots in this community. We have 2 children, Nicholas, who was a 2009 Chardon graduate, and Allison, who was a 2019 Chardon graduate. I've got a bachelor's and a PhD in chemistry, and I currently work for Sherwin-Williams in research and development. And I have over 25 years management experience in budgeting, and people management. I'm active in the local community, in theatre, and have participated and helped in many prior school levy campaigns. I've got nearly 12 years of experience on the Chardon Board of Education. I've served as student liaison for multiple years, as well as vice president, and I'm currently the vice president of the board. Through consolidation of the facilities and new funding, the Chardon Board and administration have created financial stability for the future. We've been able to expand programs such as all-day, everyday kindergarten and build on our STEM program in the middle school. And recently we were able to reduce and drop fees for student activities. We've focused on our strategy of a warm, safe and dry environment for our students by investing in roofs, windows, updated technology and security. And we're working to move the transportation compound to eliminate diesel fumes coming into the school. And we've expanded extracurricular activities for like lacrosse and men's volleyball. And we've developed a new success plan that really sets our priorities for the next 5 years. So some reasons why I want to continue as a school board member. I want to continue to build our school district. It's the heart of the community and it attracts people to the community. We need continuity, stability and focus. I've got a clear understanding of current and future needs of the district, and I trust the ability of our teachers and administration to do the right thing for all our students. They have the necessary expertise, and I work collaboratively with the superintendent and treasurer. I'd like to work towards making our vision of being a model school district by 2018 a reality. So my name is Guy Wilson. I'd like to protect our progress and commit to ensuring an excellent education. I appreciate your vote on November the 7th. Thank you.
Thank you very much, candidates. We have some questions for you, as you are probably not surprised. I'll start the first question with you, Ms. Blankenship. How much influence should parents have over the education and book selection of their children in a publicly funded school?
Well, when it comes to the curriculum, the district hires professionals that go through and select the curriculum based on the state requirements. There's policies and procedures in place. There's committees that are formed, and any community member, be it a parent or just a community member, has the opportunity at any time to talk to the superintendent and voice their questions or concerns.
Thank you. Ms. Clark, how much influence should parents have over the education and book selection of their children in a publicly funded school?
Right now, the people who I interface with on the PTO every day, the teachers and media specialists, they select the materials with the curriculum and with student interests, and they do a good job keeping it age appropriate. I believe that if parents remain involved or get involved like I do, you can get those reading lists from your student, from your teachers, you can review them, and there's a process that if you do have a concern, you can follow it and voice that concern, and I think that this process should be followed if you do have that concern.
Thank you. Ms. Major, how much influence should parents have over the education and book selection of their children in a publicly funded school?
Well, as a school board, we do get elected by the public, so I think that they're very involved because they're involved financially. So the best people that actually put curriculum together are usually the teachers and the staff and the administrators. However, when it comes to us, we really truly have to review all of the items. And I know that they actually allow a time for parents to come and review, but I don't know if the parents know that or how they're getting notified. I believe that by Topper Talk and things of that nature. But I do think that because they're the taxpayers, I think they're very important to be part of that process.
All right, thank you. Mr. Midyat, how much influence should parents have over the education and book selection of their children in a publicly funded school?
Ohio state law guarantees parents the rights to review a curriculum. The Chardon Board of Education has charged our superintendent and his staff, well, specifically the superintendent, with developing that curriculum. And as part of that curriculum, he must include guidelines for an inspection by parents, so they are guaranteed that right. As it relates to materials, anything controversial, such as anything controversial at all, has to be approved by a principal, so it's not just one person. It goes through an approval process, but by the principal. So, yeah, they have that guarantee.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Wilson, how much influence should parents have over the education and book selection of their children in a publicly funded school?
I think I'm going to give a very similar answer. I believe that the teachers and administration primarily have the expertise to select those materials. They know the students, the different grade levels of the students and the abilities best. They know where our students fit as far as achievement is concerned. However, there should be, and there is a process that if a parent objects to something, they can opt out and they can get another set of materials. So they are involved, and typically are involved when they're going through the parent-teacher conferences, when they go to the open houses. There's plenty of opportunity if they sit with their kids and look. There's plenty of opportunity to see what that material looks like and if they might object to it.
Thank you. All right, next question. I'll start with you, Ms. Clark. What do you think is the role of the school board in supporting the educators and staff?
I believe that we have to pass, or I say approve and discuss the contracts, the budgets, all of that is brought to us by Dr. Hanlon and Deb, the superintendent and the treasurer, and we have to make sure we are making our teachers are paid, we are retaining that talent, as well as making sure they have warm, safe, and dry buildings and the technology and whatnot they need to succeed.
All right. Ms. Major, what do you think is the role of the school board in supporting the educators and staff?
Well, the role of the school board is actually to take care of the budget, hire the superintendent, and look at the curriculum. So the day-to-day operations of supporting the staff actually occurs with superintendent and the administrators.
All right, thank you. Mr. Midyat, what do you think is the role of the school board in supporting the educators and staff?
A board member is to respect and support the hierarchy of the district. First and foremost, they're not to engage in management activities. They are to come to meetings prepared. They are to keep themselves informed upon matters affecting public education, focus on policy making, but for the benefit of the schools, and listen to and engage with their fellow board members, the administration, and community members.
Okay. Dr. Wilson, what do you think is the role of the school board in supporting the educators and staff?
So there's managing and then there's supporting. Obviously, we don't manage the day-to-day activities of the school, but we can support the teachers and staff. We do that through our review of items that come before us, making sure that there's adequate professional development, making sure that the budget is, or the 5-year forecast continues in the black as it goes through the next 5 years, to make sure that we have enough money to for supplies and things like that. So those are kind of examples of where we can support them, and just generally support them, I think, by occasionally going to activities and sort of viewing plays, things like that. Just having a physical presence in the district.
Thank you. Ms. Blankenship, what do you think is the role of the school board in supporting the educators and staff?
Well, first of all, it is the role of the board to hire the superintendent and the treasurer. They handle the day-to-day operations, but it is the role of the board to be the liaison between the district and the community, and to help support our educators who are there every day working with our students to help get them ready for their futures. So in a way, behind the scenes, in adopting policies and approving contracts and whatever comes before the board that can help support our teachers, and the role that they provide every day is important.
Thank you. All right, I'm on track here. Ms. Major, as a school board member, how would you like to see the concepts of race, diversity, social and emotional learning presented in the schools?
Would you please repeat that?
Sure. As a school board member, how would you like to see the concepts of race, diversity, social and emotional learning presented in the schools?
Well, that's quite a lot of items right there. And as I said, we do have tasked the items for managing the superintendent and other things that I said before. So it'd be kind of like going into a little bit of a rabbit hole to be dealing with the race and diversity. However, I think that those kinds of items, it depends on what you mean by race. If you're talking about teaching racial from years ago and things of that nature, that would be fine. But if you're talking about things that are not academics, I really believe that the school is really set to be dealing with academics first. And things of ideology belong with the parents and should be done out of the school.
Mr. Midyet, as a school board member, how would you like to see the concepts of race, diversity, social and emotional learning presented in the schools?
As it relates to history and race, state law provides that we are to adopt a curriculum that has a thorough study of United States and Ohio history. We are to adopt a curriculum that is a well-balanced presentation of the relevant societal contributions by members of minority, racial, and ethnic groups. It's by state law. In terms of social emotional learning, the Chardon School District has a legal responsibility under state law to include SEL in the form of abuse and violence prevention education, suicide awareness and prevention training, evidence-based social inclusion instruction. Parents can have their kids excused if they wish. We're also charged with bully instruction, and school counselors, since before the 1950s, have included personal and social counseling as well as academic counseling in their role, and they are judged against that by the state.
Thank you. Dr. Wilson, as a school board member, how would you like to see the concepts of race, diversity, social and emotional learning presented in the schools?
Well, some of it can be done through the curriculum, through appropriate reading books, lessons, things like that, especially when it comes to, say, the history of race, some of the issues that have occurred in the past. Things like social emotional learning, there are aspects of it where we can tackle it through things like Sources of Strength, which is a program we just introduced recently into the school. It's a program that's designed really for suicide prevention and to try and give kids the appropriate support needed, because we know that things like suicide and depression is becoming more prevalent in our students. So those would be the sort of things I would look at to tackle those issues.
Thank you. Ms. Blankenship, as a school board member, how would you like to see the concepts of race, diversity, social and emotional learning presented in the schools?
First of all, when I first got on the school board, I attended a OSBA training session. There was a school board member from another district who was talking about everything they were going to do in a public school setting. The trainer mentioned that public schools are in a different position than private schools are. When you have let's say you have a manufacturer that's an ice cream manufacturer, they have blueberries arrive on the dock that are rotten. They ship those blueberries back. Public schools have to accept everyone that walks in that door. So we have to be prepared for diversity. We have to be prepared for everything a student brings with them during the day. When they walk in that door, they unpack their personal backpacks. That could be anything from home life to whatever has affected them the night before.
Thank you.
So we have to...
Sorry, your time is up. Thank you.
Sorry.
Ms. Clark, will you tell us, as a board member, how would you like to see the concepts of race, diversity, social and emotional learning presented in the schools?
I think there's a lot in this question. If you're talking about race and diversity in a sense of history, there are approved curriculums. We need to teach all aspects of history and follow those curriculums. Social emotional learning wise, I feel like that's a buzzword, but there is a directed social emotional curriculum from the state. And I think it all falls under various names. We work on PBIS and teaching kindness at Munson. It's offer kindness is one of the things of climbing to the top. So we're already doing it, it's just a buzzword. And as for diversity and race in a broader sense, I mean, like Mrs. Blankenship said, the public schools must educate all the children they're given to fairly and equitably. So we just need to be aware of all those differences and make sure we are giving each child the chance to succeed.
Thank you. And Ms. Major, you started with this question, right? So I've covered you. All right. I want to make sure I don't make that mistake again. All right. Next question, and I'll start with you, Mr. Midyat. What do you feel is the role of schools in protecting kids from risky internet or cyber behavior and bullying?
That's a good one. Well, I think obviously we have bullying as a part of our curriculum. And I think we probably have a legal responsibility as well to protect our students from that.
All right. Dr. Wilson, what do you feel is the role of schools in protecting kids from risky internet and cyber behavior and bullying?
So schools can play a role along with the parents. I mean, this is a partnership between the parents and the school itself. We, particularly in Chardon, we employ individuals such as the SRO. We'll talk about those sorts of issues, but we can bring it to the classroom and talk about the issues involved and the ramifications of these risky behaviors. So I think we can kind of teach it through sort of some of the lessons, and we can also engage outside organizations to try and tackle that issue and show the kids just, what the risks are and what the problems could be. Because it's a very serious issue, in our society today.
Thank you. Ms. Blankenship, what do you feel is the role of schools in protecting kids from risky internet and cyber behavior and bullying?
I know over the past years, our PTOs and our buildings have held different events for both students and for parents to attend, to become familiar or up to date on what is happening in social media and what is happening on the internet. A few years ago, I attended with some of the middle school students. I sat in the back to watch their response when they were asked about TikTok or Instagram and if their parents knew they had it. It was amazing how many students had more than one account that their parent did not even know that they had. So they admitted it that day, but their parents wasn't here to see it. So I think it's important that parents get involved and they pay attention to what is happening on their cell phones.
Thank you. Ms. Clark, what do you feel is the role of schools in protecting kids from risky internet and cyber behavior and bullying?
Well, given today's technology, all of our students are given a Chromebook. If you pay attention, it has devices and software on it to monitor what they're doing in schools, but the principals have very clearly said, it's on you when you're at home. Make sure you know what they're doing. I can see what they're doing the next day when they plug back into my network, but you need to know at home. So I think it's a two-sided support between both the schools and the parents. I'm an engineer, my husband's an engineer. We've had these conversations with our kids already. They are reinforced in different things in the school district. And I think with those monitoring apps, should bullying and stuff arise, the administration is going to jump on top of that and not allow that to happen. That software is a great piece of software.
Thank you. Ms. Major, what do you feel is the role of schools in protecting kids from risky internet and cyber behavior and bullying?
Absolutely. I do think that they should have programs and bring the parents in and talk, because, I mean, things can get so bad if a student, something gets out that they didn't want to get out, and then it could go all over, and then the student themselves could get so depressed or upset about it. I mean, who knows what they'll end up doing, and it could be very bad for them. So I do think absolutely there should be a lot of training like that, with rallies or something with the parents, so that the students do understand the ramifications of the things that they might put on social media.
Thank you. So we have one last question, and I'll start with you, Dr. Wilson. How do you plan to work together with the rest of the school board when individual members have differing ideas and priorities?
I think past boards have shown that we can do this. I think it's basically, in my opinion, trying to listen to the other viewpoints of the board, and also express your own viewpoint as professionally as you can. I think that there's going to be times when you just don't agree on a particular issue, and it'll come down to how you vote. But once you've voted, whatever the decision is, you need to support that decision and be united in your front as you move forward.
Thank you. Ms. Blankenship, how do you plan to work together with the rest of the school board when individual members have differing ideas and priorities?
Well, there's a reason why there's 5 board members that come from different backgrounds with different viewpoints. If we all felt the same way or was voting the same way, there would be no reason to have 5 of us. You have to be willing to express your opinion, listen to others, and because they come from different ideas, different parts of the district, or different backgrounds in general, but you have to be willing to work together. And here again, if once a decision has been made, been voted on by the board, you have to support that decision over your own personal viewpoint.
Thank you. Ms. Clark, how do you plan to work together with the rest of the school board when individual members have differing ideas and priorities?
Like Mrs. Blankenship said, there are 5 of us, so I do think that a variety of viewpoints is beneficial. I think if we all come in very open-minded, like I am, kind of looking for fact-based conversations. I've had conversations with neighbors outside of the school with different beliefs than me, different backgrounds, and we can come to a compromise. So we just all need to be respectful and kind and have that discussion, and be open-minded to facts. And once that decision is made, we all need to stand by it.
Thank you. Ms. Major, how do you plan to work together with the rest of the school board when individual members have differing ideas and priorities?
The best thing to do is everybody has an opinion and they get to state their opinion. But like everyone else said, once the majority speaks, then I would support that, whether I agreed with it or not.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Midyat, how do you plan to work together with the rest of the school board when individual members have differing ideas and priorities?
Yeah, so we all come from different backgrounds. There's 5 board members. I would add one thing is that I'm not an education expert. I'm not a financial expert. So if there is an issue, I'm going to be seeking the counsel of the superintendent and the treasurer on that. And I would think the other board members are probably going to be doing the same from what I've seen in our board meetings. So it's important to treat each other with respect and dignity, obviously. And I agree. We absolutely need to support a board decision after it's been made, whether we agree with it or not.
Thank you very much. I don't think I missed anybody. I think I did that okay. You guys are holding me accountable, so I hope I didn't. I want to quickly run over a couple of really important dates and some information for you. First of all, sorry about that. Vote411.org. Our president, Shelley Lewis, told you about it at the beginning. It's a great tool to see side-by-side comparisons of the issues and the candidates that you'll be voting for. Super helpful, and if you just Google Vote 411, you'll get right to the site and be able to find it. League of Women Voter Guide, Maple Leaf, there are lots of good sources of information out there. Encourage you to educate yourself prior to voting. Important dates. October 10th is the voter registration deadline. If you are not registered to vote, or if you have concerns that your voter registration may have lapsed, or if there are young people in your family who will be voting for the first time, that's the deadline. Early in-person voting begins the very next day, on October 11th at the Board of Elections, and continues. The schedule is posted on the Board of Elections website, and then November 7th is Election Day. So, thank you all for being a terrific audience and listening carefully. Thank you to all of our candidates. We appreciate your time and your preparation.